I just can't see how I can bring
Okay,
it into
going live.
real life.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name's Lou Jensen. This is the weekly gathering of the INE Network. If you're over on YouTube or on your Google Plus account, welcome and enjoy the program that we've got together. We're a discovery, development, creative talent type group. We've been together for many years and now use the Google Hangout function to bring everybody together and have a chance to kind of discuss ideas and concepts that might help you as a creative person to get more out of that effort. And the INE Network is inspiration and encouragement network for discovery of a talent, to do whatever it takes to develop that talent, hopefully eventually master something in your creative sphere, and then learn how to share that with the rest of the world. And that sharing part of creative talent is what I think is the most challenging. And so as we move into our show tonight, we're going to talk about a concept that is, to me, empowering your individual creativity is such an issue. Too many people just hover along with what they have and don't really try and make much of a challenge to themselves when it comes to additional creative ideas and concepts. So as I launch my, let's get this set up here and open up this show for tonight. Okay, I'm talking tonight about above and beyond. And obviously for our group, we're pretty supportive of this kind of an effort. You learn very quickly whether people are inclined to share and mix ideas or whether they're not. And I like and prefer people and the circumstance that mixes ideas and is willing to look at the stimulation of new thoughts. And so taking yourself in a position where you're going a little bit beyond what you have in the past, to me, is quite a subject, quite a discipline. And if you're not in a position or mixed with people who will allow that much, then now's the time. Literally begin to move your life in a direction that will allow you new levels of thought, new levels of participation, and basically come out with something that you didn't think was even there. I've talked about Julia Cameron for a long time. Julia wrote Artist's Way. It's been a major bestseller. She lives in New Mexico area and wrote her book about artistic creativity and how to basically step to higher levels. And I went to look at her book today as I was getting ready to make this entry, and I read a critique by someone who had bought the book and then offered to do a critique. And she has thousands, by the way, on Amazon. If you've not read this book, this is one to get your hands on. Julia was Martin Scorsese's wife for a time, and she wrote the book and then had kind of a poor initial reaction to it. But she didn't take the publisher's commentary as fact, and so she went out and used her own creative way to help promote and grow her book into the success that it's become. And I couldn't help but look at the commentary of this person who I'm quite positive has not done anything close to what Julia's done, and her commentary was really shallow because of it. And I thought, isn't it interesting how there's a lot of ordinary people that find these unbelievable levels of capability, and they're basically willing to challenge themselves and go after a direction that's beyond being ordinary. For some reason, there's a side to you that almost can't be told no. In fact, usually if someone's snubbing you or giving you a bad time, about your thinking and your artistic creative process, it drives you even more in the direction of the naysayers. And I wanted to kind of show you tonight, I'm crossing a path that's been in process for quite a long time. Brian and I met today, and I acquired a new piece of artwork in my life. This is something that Brian's been playing with for some time, and it's a Native American tradition of a seed pot. And these pots kept the seeds for the next season. And so they were just these little gourd kind of containers. And Brian has gone after them with a whole new flavor, a whole new feel. And mine obviously has to have a slice of an eggshell on it. And they're perforated and hand sewn and hand stitched and hand feathered. And mine is my dream keeping pot. And it's so fun for me to mix on a basis like this, where Brian has carried this idea for a long time. And I remember the distinct moment the first time I saw this set, because he's done quite a few of them now. And when I saw what he'd done, he'd mixed in between dream keeping and dream catching and all of those ideas of storage. How do you contain a dream and keep it alive? How do you keep it going? And I'm going to mix that into what I'm doing right now and try and describe for you my current circumstances are so rich and so amazing. It's hard for me sometimes to even get through individual days. And when you consider the fact that most people, there are so many people in history who the world said it couldn't be done, and yet someone stayed with it and stayed with it and stayed with it until they get it done. That same kind of group. Our mixture with each other is designed to try and get just exactly that. Try and lift our thinking, lift our doing beyond what we probably would try to expect. The extra mile is never crowded. It always is something that I like to lean back to and brag about and talk about. Elena, if you're sitting in on the show tonight, I'm so impressed with what you've just done. This was on Facebook today, and it's for a friend's wife, and she's a ladybug nut. And I thought, oh my Godfrey, if that isn't just one of the most clever things to put on a gun, on a family heirloom, can you imagine? It's going to be around long after Elena's long gone. What a touch. What an incredibly productive, creative thing that you've done, Elena. Now, when I see this kind of thing and it reaches out and touches my own thinking, where I think we all get caught is we think that this is kind of all there is to the concept, when in reality this should open up door after door after door of your own individual creative thinking. Because does not this just open up every avenue you could possibly think of? And it could be a feather instead of a leaf, and it could be any. I mean, this just, I'm so proud of you, Elena Burr. Can't tell you how cool I thought that was when I first saw that. Now, I'm talking way beyond the bare minimum, because if the bare minimum is what you get out of life, going above and beyond will launch you above and beyond. And if you know Bryant and followed him much at all, he literally has built his entire life around taking the concept and doing simple reminders. He's the simple reminder guy. And these were the moments back in the days when we first started. I got these simple reminders in my email constantly from this Bryant somebody. I never even began to pay much attention to them in the beginning, except they were always so targeted and so well laid out and so well presented. And so as you see these kind of things that show up, and then you start collecting them and pulling them into your life of saying the limits, the possible, can only be defined by going beyond them into the impossible. Every person on this planet today, 7 billion of us, played with the possible. We sort of kind of know what will work and sort of kind of what is possible. But to step beyond that, there were two people today, Brian Beatty and Lou Jensen, who stepped into a realm of impossibility. And I'm so convinced of that. It was one of those kinds of moments where the trade was extraordinary. And Brian is getting ready now to leave on his 4th trip to Bulgaria. He's going to be in Europe for most of the spring now and doing his art shows in Bulgaria. And it's impossible to measure the impact he's had on that country, because he's been willing to go beyond what he thought he could do to begin with. And now I said, is there an ounce inside of you that doesn't expect that you can make this next trip and go for a 4th time? And he just looked at me and smiled, and he's just, not 1 ounce, not 1 ounce. I've done it too many times. I know what's out there now. And when I remember talking with Brian and counsel with him in the beginning, and we talked about it today, how every person out there tends to shoot themselves down. Our early conversation with ourselves is such that it limits our vision, it limits our trying, it limits the courage that it takes to try and do something that's impossible. And yet, if you don't get beyond that, there's no way it's going to work for you. This is ordinary people. I'm so tired of extraordinary people. There's people out there that have more confidence and no common sense whatsoever. And I'm going, but it's the ordinary people that just keep doing. They find something that's just worthy of every ounce of effort they put into it. And once you do that, and you keep doing, and you keep doing, and you keep doing, and you keep doing, then this empowered level of creativity shows up. You put 2 and 2 together, and it comes out 5. That, to me, is what's beyond our doubts. How can you take yourself to new levels of thinking if you can't get beyond your individual doubts? People rarely succeed unless they're having fun at what they're doing. Now, I don't know how often I've used the quote when it changed the course of my life from dentistry over in this direction of having a good time is my job. And I've said it my entire life long now for the last all but 40 years. And here's Dale Carnegie saying the exact same thing. So isn't having a good time, enjoying what you're doing, if it doesn't turn you on, then you're not likely to pursue anything exceptional anyway. Now, I saw this for the first time today as well. And I thought, my good Lord, who would ever have think to put a serif, lay it down, and highlight an eye this way? This, to me, remember the one that I showed you, the picture of the heart in the heart shape that was a circle on the page in the songbook? And yet the way they'd photographed it, it turned into a heart. These are the kind of things that I just keep forever. This, to me, is such a highly creative, never seen before kind of a thought and a concept and an idea. And to me, these are what you pile into your journal, because you don't have a clue where this will touch or take your thinking and your vision, but it should make a difference. We can use today to become a day older or a day better. Wow, what a neat idea. For this last week that I've been so sick, all I've been trying to do is just survive another day. But I'm starting to get on the mend, and I begin to have the same kind of thoughts and feelings that have pulled me along for 38 years now. To get above and beyond your own individual expectations is the only purpose there is left to your life. To find something that you didn't think was there and then flesh it into a piece of art and learn to share that from then on. What a blessing in your life. If your actions inspire others, dream more, learn more, do more, become more, and you'll then be a leader. I talked a lot with Brian today about his next portion of his life, because Brian has accomplished things with his artistic efforts and skills that are extraordinary. He just did that whole program with those physically challenged children at the university, and we went and watched his final presentation. And today they all gave him a greeting card, and you just can't not keep the tears back. It just was amazing what it means to you when you can share on a basis that probably no one else would bother to do. And yet he lit up the artistic fires and ideas in these children that are normally overlooked. And I says, that's leadership. That's doing something with your gift that probably is what you're here for doing. And I saw David Thomas's Unselfish and Noble Actions are the most radiant pages in the biography of souls. So take this page and put it in your own journal, put it in your own life, realizing that your unselfish thoughts and your unselfish actions, the things that you're going to light up your soul with, to me, are why do it. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles everything. So the seventh sense is still such an ace. It will lead you to all this unusual side of you that you don't just dream it now, you get to live your best life. Why not? Why not make this period of time something that you're going to go after on a whole different basis, and gradually pull it into a reality that does not right now exist? So if you had a seed pot, and I'm going to encourage you to get your seed pot from Brian maybe as soon as you can, because before long they're going to be really expensive. But what a neat concept to store a dream, store an idea, and then cultivate it. Take care of it. That's why do a journal. Why do this workbook? If you're not gradually filling it up with the things that inspire you, then why bother? But as you do, you're going to see things about yourself that I'm quite sure you've not seen before. And so I'm looking at going, man, what a valuable part of my own existence. My journals are there. I've kept them for all these years. I've got the physical books that I've started with the binders, and then now I've got the digital journals, and man alive, they light me up. I don't know anything that I've done creatively that is more what I consider more valuable now, because it's how you begin to see your own future. When you can put a little dream in place and then go after it and actually start to pull it off, there's nothing starts to give you more individual personal confidence. Nothing. You start to see that, oh my hell, I can do this. I didn't think I could, but guess what? I can. And that's what inspires me. And the second you start to do this, it's like cooking the books for yourself. Just literally stacking the deck. You can't be denied because you can see it in yourself. And what you have envisioned is then what you end up seeing. And I'm going, okay, you've got one of two options. Either you can ignore everything around you and just put up with whatever shows up every day, or you can come back to the square that says, hey, I'm going to create some of my life here. I'm not content to go to my grave with just whatever shows up. I want to create something. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Now, all my years of doing shows, I have never seen this quote before. I saw that and I went, how you do anything is how you do everything. That's brilliant stuff. That's the stuff that dreams are made of. Because if you're always a dreamer and doing, guess what? You got a shot. And if creativity really is contagious, then that's what we should be passing on. When I saw this, I was so taken back because there's a place in the North European oceans where the two oceans come together, and it causes this explosive current that just plows into each other. It's the most dramatic thing I've ever seen. And so if I were to challenge you tonight to say, do you have 100 quotes that inspire you? Have you got one place in your life where you've piled up these 100 best quotes that really, really lift your spirits? I wonder if you do have that. And what an asset, what a tool, what a concept that would inspire you to basically get more out of your doing every day than if you didn't have that. Because whatever inspires you fires you. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never seen it said that way either. Because it's, to me, the fire inside is what keeps you going and keeps you doing it. I made a declaration today and tonight that's going in my seapot, because I'm finally at a point where I don't need anyone else to keep my fire burning. It's taken me a long time to get to that point, and I've been messing with a really big idea for a long time. It's my best thinking. I've tried everything I could think of to launch it, to get it and make it somehow turn into a reality, and I've failed so far. But a couple of nights ago, I was literally awakened in the middle of the night again with a whole new approach. And I woke up from a dead sleep and was just wide awake with the reality that there's always another way. There's always some other way to try and keep things going and to do something with that individual fire that you've got burning. And I think I am finally at a point where right now I don't need anyone else to help me keep that fire burning anymore. If you can realize deeply that the present moment is all you have, it's all you'll ever have, then all of a sudden now you're messing around with probably what I think is the most significant reason to be alive there is. You've got something to do. And with what time you've got left, is that time to be doing. You can't start this last chapter of your life if you're just rereading the old one. Got to get on. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. But don't we do it? Oh, we do this to ourselves. What a number. So, as you begin to renew your faith in yourself, and you realize that once is enough, it's all we each have, but once is enough, and you begin to realize, the idea of the Forever Letter first hit me, I was the same kind of concept that happened with this new idea. I was in Denver at the gift show, and I woke up in the middle of the night with Sarah Raines telling me Forever Letter. I literally had that handed to me. And when you can follow through and develop a particular idea and concept into something that it turns into a reality, oh man, that helps your life with a bunch. I'm wrestling right now with the greatest idea of my life. There's nothing on the plate more important than the innovation of the new turbine filter. And I'm just so bound and determined to get a fire lit under that before I'm dead and gone, because the world needs it so much now. But when you can zero in on your dreams and your hopes to this degree, all of a sudden now you begin to really, really have some significant strength. I can't tell you the number of people I've crossed paths with who have an impact or a role in Utah's state of the art of innovation. We really are an innovative area. And yet, if you ask most of the top end culture of the state, our skiing industry is by far our greatest asset. And I am going to change that. I'm going to fix that culture if it's the last thing I do, because we really are trying to pull into the economy and into solving problems in the world the innovative process. There is a way of doing it, just exactly like going after a great piece of art. There's a process to it. And we need to kind of pull everything we can into the process of making one good idea responsive, and then leading then to another good idea, which would then lead to another good idea. Because I think that's how it works. I think that's why it works. And to get an idea of yours that ends up happening or having an impact, how can you do anything with your last few years of your life any better than that? Personally, I don't think there's anything you can do. Sorting out good ideas from bad ideas and having this then lead your life in the direction of your better thinking and your better ideas, to me, is such a fun thing to chew on. The best way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas. And as our webinars continue, and as we keep looking for options and ideas and ways, as I start into this series now of upscale marketing, I begin with March and April, because that's when my life literally took off, was in Easter time and resurrection time. And as I start moving into these branding concepts and these marketing ideas and these pricing ideas, what I hope it'll do is just give you so damn many ideas, it's almost like a flood. You just have to be the person that's the curator of your own fire. No one else can do that for you. First thing I saw here was another ketone. Another ketone idea is your last best idea. What might that be? And hopefully you'll get more out of this than you ever dreamed possible. The natural history of innovation is where good ideas come from. And you either learn to work with that concept that comes to you, or you do not. And with our culture and our group, the INE Network, the whole idea is to do exactly that, to make it grow. And see if together we can't become as good as the innovative processes we possibly can become. All right, I want to show you where in the world is that? There we go, there we go. I got it shut down now. Let me show you my seed pot, my green pot. And right there is where you put the whole green in. He's done dozens of different designs and styles and ideas. And I thought, there's a whole life here. A whole life right there. Moving that in the direction where it starts to touch other people's lives. And then you have, he's going to do kits where people can do their own. I lit me up like a Roman candle today. And when I see that coming out of our circle, and realize the impact that should then have for each of you, each of us. It's not just what, oh wow, look what Brian's done. It should be, wow, how can that then affect my own thinking? Because he's uncovered a whole new way of going at the preservation and the planning and the culture and the incubation of good thinking. Going to be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch it unfold. I didn't think I would struggle with my coffee tonight, but I am starting to. Anybody have a comment you want to make before I wrap things up tonight? I'm going to have to kind of cut things a little short again. I'm hoping that each of you get something out of the mixture of what your ideas are mixed with what somebody else's ideas are. It is just, to me, the most dynamic thing in the world to push your own thinking.
No matter, Lou,
Go ahead, Lou.
no matter what other people think of you and your ideas, you should always go for it.
If you don't, who will?
Nobody.
Nobody. Did you have detractors when you went after last year's Veterans Art Show? Did anybody ever dare say to you, you shouldn't try it?
No.
Probably not you.
No.
Probably not you. When I hear that, and I hear it often in family circles of people that just are so quick to condemn each other and so quick to say how you can't do it or it isn't going to work or the odds are against you or all that. I don't understand why that's such a pervasive thing in human nature, but it sure is.
No, the biggest one in my family was, why on earth would you want to do that?
Yeah. Mine was when I wanted to quit and take a whole new pathway. And in fact, we were laughing about it yesterday. It's just my dad was so intense on the fact that I was just making easily the worst decision of my entire life was to quit dentistry. But he was doing it with Mark Bingham, and he was also doing it with Jim Zumbo. And so all three of us were taking a ton of heat from Dad because he was absolutely convinced that what we should do is the safe way to take our lives. And all three of us, good Lord, what if we hadn't gone this route? Kind of fun.
But if you take the safe way, Lou, and you look back when you get older, you always think, what if I would have done it? Could I have made it?
Yeah. What could it have been?
Yeah. And so I feel it's better to try it and something go wrong, because you can always try something else, you know.
Well, doesn't every move you make tends to lead to something better? I mean, if you'll go after it and keep going after it. I was going to remember the show I did about the guy that hatched the turkeys, and it became his whole life, and I had trouble finding the show on YouTube this afternoon. So I'm going to find it and repost it, but it just showed up again today as a concept that I haven't thought about for quite a while. But he literally raised these batch of turkeys, and that became his life. And the PBS television show they did was about him, this guy in Florida that's gone on. And so what I want to do now is find out how that's affected his life. What are the creative, artistic changes that happened because he got such incredible exposure? Such a really, really neat film. And I thought, boy, if that doesn't mess with your head and you're thinking, I don't know anything that will.
Talk about raising a batch of wild turkeys.
Yeah, wasn't that the coolest thing? And I haven't thought about that in 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden today it was, okay, time to rethink that as well.
Well, he had to start thinking like a turkey.
Yeah, change all of his thinking, didn't he? He changed all of his thinking about how the process actually worked. And that, to me, is life's most difficult thing, is to change our own thinking. We really struggle with what we think we can do or what we think we can't do.
Dr. Lou?
Yeah, Herman, go ahead.
I'd like to just say something because I'm just absolutely blown away about tonight's subject. As you know, I'm studying Step 6, and I find it I just don't think anything happens by accident. I was just on this particular portion just to let everyone know how you've impacted me. I've often told you that over the past 3 weeks or so that we've even known one another. But here's where I am, and if it just brings any question to anyone's mind that nothing happens by accident, this just proves it. It's talking about, and you will reflect on it. For a super idea, you just have to keep plugging at it until it unfolds. This seems to be what I'm faced with in trying to get the idea for creating a particular look into the glass carvings that I have an idea about. I'm dreaming of producing, in other words.
Yeah.
And I will not give up until I can produce it. Yet I want to conquer all the other things that some of your outstanding artists on your show have already accomplished without, just being at a standstill. I want to learn how to do other things while I'm working on producing this dream that I have. And you mentioned Thomas Edison tried over 1,000 ways to create the filament in the light bulb and failed before he became a success.
Yeah.
And you said something that really struck me. Imagine, and I think the gentleman that just spoke touched on this. Imagine what the world would have been like had he stopped and not completed his production of the idea. So
Yeah.
I was writing in my journal, and I don't mean to take up a lot of time, but I was writing in my journal today, and it goes something like this. I'm astonished at the way this next concept, principle, belief system, faith exercise, or whatever you want to call it, comes into play. Where there is a point where a person has to depend on several senses they have, and everyone has them. They just have to learn how to use them.
Yeah.
And learning to pay attention to the imagination and the intuition, which you spoke of in steps number 6, are very, very important. When you pay attention to the little whispers you said that come along with, and I added this part, ask and it shall be given unto you, which to me is a biblical concept. Things begin to reveal themselves to you when you pursue the question or the request.
Yeah.
That is such a wonderful revelation once you truly capture it and believe it by faith. And I'm constantly reminded in my world is God is not a man that he can lie. Therefore, if he said it, then it's so. And with that in mind, that even makes the aforementioned principle all the more exciting to latch on to. And consequently, that's why you've come into my life, and the rest of you have come into my life at a time such as this. It's not by accident. It's just a dent.
And Herman, once it actually is reality, you kind of play with the potential, but a lot of people play with potential and never find enough reality they can kind of hang their hat on it. And yet you will. And when you find that reality and you can pull that into your life enough so that you then continue that effort, that's when I think the game gets just phenomenal. You begin to trust your unique thinking. And therein's where, I mean, this, I don't know how many of you see the potential of this right now, but I do. And I've seen it for quite some time. And it's such a simple concept in one way, and yet such a uh, traditional artistic kind of venue. And it's a whole new way of playing with dreams and keeping of dreams and the growing and cultivating and maturing of dreams. And I sit and think, oh my good Lord, do you know how many artistic people out there, especially Native American cultured artistic people, that should have seen that idea, but they didn't? And it's identical to the entire dental trade that missed the straight handpiece. I have an absolute field day with that because it's defined my entire life. Something that everyone else did not think of is something that I did think of. And then I just went from there. And that's now happened to Brian. It's exactly this unique side of innovative thought process of how in the hell do I do it differently than I've always done it? Because that's where we're all stuck. Great concept. You're playing with the journal idea, Herman, like nobody I've ever sat down and started interacting with, and it's going to serve you well. I guarantee it. The time will come, as in my own life, my journals, I've told all my children, the day I die, those journals better be somewhere. Somebody needs to become the keeper of my entire life of thinking. And if I pull off this next idea, that will really be exciting to play with. So, all right, thank you for your comments, everyone. I'm sorry I'm still out of gas and running on empty, but we'll get together next week and we'll see if we can't have another show worth the time and the trouble. Thank you for your participation. Post